You may have seen it before. A neat row of raised beds, clean edges, fresh wood, filled with rich soil. It looks beautiful at first. But then you notice something else nearby. A simple wooden pallet, leaning against a wall, holding rows of green leaves, small herbs, even strawberries. No large structure. No deep digging. And yet, after just a few weeks, the plants look just as full, sometimes even more lively. Many people spend days building raised beds, measuring, cutting, lifting heavy boards, and filling them with costly soil. It can take time. It can take effort. And it can take more money than expected. But this small pallet garden, it comes together in a single afternoon. Quietly, gently, without strain. And here is the surprising part. The plants do not seem to mind the difference. If gardening has started to feel expensive or difficult, you are not doing anything wrong. Many people feel the same way today. There is a simpler path here. One that uses less, but still gives back. Before explaining why this worked, it helps to understand what changed over time. Raised beds were not always this costly. Years ago, wood was easier to find, and soil was more affordable. Building a raised bed felt like a one-time effort, something strong and lasting. And for many people, it still is. But slowly, things shifted. The price of wood went up. Soil became something you had to buy in bags, sometimes many bags. Even simple tools and hardware added to the total. What once felt like a small project became something larger. At the same time, the idea of raised beds became very popular. Many guides suggested them as the best way to grow anything. So beginners followed that advice, thinking it was the only way to start. But here is something gentle to consider. Not every garden needs deep soil. Not every plant needs a large box to grow well. In fact, many common plants live quite comfortably in smaller spaces, as long as their basic needs are met. So while raised beds can be helpful, they are not always necessary, especially for those just starting or for those who prefer something lighter and easier to manage. And this is where a quiet alternative begins to appear. If you walk behind small shops, garden centers, or delivery areas, you may notice stacks of wooden pallets. Some are used once and then set aside. Some are left outside, waiting to be taken away. They are simple, rough, often ignored. Most people walk past them without thinking twice. But these pallets were built to carry weight, to hold steady, to last through travel. And with a small shift in how we see them, they become something else entirely. Instead of buying new materials, you begin to reuse what is already there. Instead of building from scratch, you reshape something that already exists. This change in thinking can feel small at first, but it opens a door, a way to garden without adding more cost or effort. And once you see it, it becomes hard to unsee. The real change happens when you understand one simple idea. Plants do not always need deep ground to grow strong. What they need is space for roots, steady moisture, and access to light. A wooden pallet, when placed thoughtfully, creates small pockets of soil. These pockets hold just enough for many plants to settle in. Herbs, leafy greens, even some fruits like strawberries. Their roots are not deep. They spread gently, close to the surface. So instead of one large bed, you have many small growing spaces, each one holding a plant, each one easy to reach, easy to observe. This is where things begin to feel lighter. You are not digging deep into the ground. You are not lifting heavy soil again and again. The pallet does the work of holding everything in place. And something else happens too. The soil drains more evenly. Air moves around the roots. Plants often respond well to this balance. This is the turning point. Not a new tool, not a complex method, just a different way of seeing what plants truly need. Of course, not every pallet is the same. And this is one place where a little attention helps keep things safe and comfortable. Some pallets are treated to handle weather or pests. Others are simply heat-treated, which is safer for gardening. You may notice small markings stamped into the wood. These markings tell you how the pallet was prepared. It is usually enough to look for signs that the wood is clean and untreated by harsh chemicals. A simple rinse and a moment to check for damage is often all that is needed. There is no need to rush this part. Taking a little time here helps everything feel more settled later. And if this feels confusing at first, that is okay. Many beginners feel unsure here. But once you recognize what to look for, it becomes quite simple. Setting it up does not need to feel like a project. In fact, it works best when it stays simple. The pallet can rest flat on the ground, or lean slightly against a wall or fence. This depends on your space and comfort. Some people prefer it raised a little, so they do not have to bend as much. A layer of soil is added into the gaps, gently pressed into place. Not packed tightly, just enough to hold. Over time, the soil settles naturally. Plants are then placed into these spaces. One by one. No rush. Each plant finding its own pocket. There is no need for heavy tools. No need for lifting large boards or digging deep holes. It is a quiet process. Something that can be done in short moments, even with breaks in between. And once it is set, the garden begins to take care of itself in many ways. Not every plant will feel at home here, and that is part of the learning. Leafy greens, like spinach or lettuce, tend to do well. Herbs such as mint or basil often settle in easily. Strawberries can spread gently across the spaces, creating a soft, green layer. But plants that need deep roots, like large root vegetables, may struggle. They look for more space below the surface. Climate also plays a role. In warmer regions, soil may dry a little faster, so gentle watering helps keep things steady. In cooler areas, moisture stays longer, so less water is often enough. There is no perfect list here, just a simple observation. Some plants prefer shallow homes. Others ask for more depth. With time, you begin to notice the difference. Sometimes growth feels slow, and that can lead to small mistakes. Watering too often is one of them. It comes from care, from wanting the plants to thrive. But too much water can make roots feel heavy. Sunlight is another piece. If the pallet sits in deep shade, plants may stretch without filling out. And spacing matters too. When plants are too close, they compete quietly for the same space. If this feels slow, that is okay. Small changes bring gentle improvement. Moving the pallet slightly, adjusting water, giving a bit more room. These are simple shifts, not big corrections. And over time, the garden responds. Many people, especially those looking for ease, begin to prefer this method. There is less bending, less lifting, less need to rebuild or replace. The garden feels closer, more within reach. It becomes something you can visit, rather than something that demands effort. A place to observe, rather than manage constantly. There is also a quiet sense of independence, knowing that you did not need to spend much, that you used what was already available. This feeling often matters just as much as the plants themselves. And if you have been thinking about trying something like this, you might already have an idea of what you would grow first. It could be a small herb you use often, or a leafy green you enjoy. If you feel comfortable, you can share that thought. What would you place into those small spaces first? There is no right answer, just a starting point. In the end, this kind of garden does not ask for more from you. It asks for less. Less cost, less effort, less pressure to do everything perfectly. And in return, it still gives you something meaningful. Fresh growth, quiet progress, a sense of care that fits into your day without strain. You don't need to build more. Sometimes, doing less gives you more.